Hello, 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 and welcome to the WonderMama Coffee Chat. I am so glad you're here. If this is your first time joining us, here's what this space is all about. Every week, I sit down with someone who is intentionally bringing good into the world, into motherhood, into entrepreneurship, into life, or into the lives of people around them. We talk about real stuff. And then after about 30 minutes here with you live, we drop into a private conversation inside the Wonder Mama Place community and talk to community members. So if you're already a member, stay with me. We're going deeper after this, and you can ask our guests all kinds of things. And if you're not yet a member, the door is open. Now, today's guest. Maria Garcia is a new friend to me. A few months ago, we met for the first time, and I learned that she has spent years building a career in finance, international business, and then everything changed. A massive stroke forced her to rebuild from the ground up, not just her health, but her entire relationship with her body, her purpose, and what she believed was possible. What she found on the other side of what rebuilding her life was eventually became her calling. Today, Maria coaches others to reset their relationship with food and reclaim their health, their clarity, and their power. This conversation is about resilience in its most real form. What it looks like to lose everything you built and find something truer on the other side. And so, Maria, welcome to the Wonder Mama Coffee Chat. I am so glad you're here.
Me too. Thank you. I'm excited about this conversation.
When you and I met the first time, I really didn't know. I'd heard you say why your voice was sexy like this, sexy, smoky voice. And I've heard you introduce yourself as the nutrition coach with a sexy voice. Um, and so would you tell us a little bit about what was happening before and what changed? Just a little bit about your journey.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I'll try to be somewhat brief because it's such a long story. I was working in finance. I was gonna get my broker license and sell securities. I had just taken the exam to be licensed to do that. And then one day I was on the phone and all of a sudden I started saying things like, the red ocean is underneath the kitchen floor. And as soon as I said it, I thought, who said that? I knew it was me, but I didn't think. I felt like I was watching me
Yeah.
say it. It just came out of my mouth. And then I said something else very strange. So I finally was able to say, listen, I need to go. Fell on my bed with the worst headache ever. Started vomiting and was just ill. So I ended
Mm.
up at the hospital. And I thought, oh man, I must have food poisoning because I ate shrimp at lunch and maybe it was bad. I don't know. But nobody else is sick.
How
So
old were
weird.
you when this happened?
25.
25. So you were on the phone with someone and you said something like the ocean is underneath the kitchen or something wild like that. And went, what is that?
Yeah.
And then you had a horrible headache and started vomiting. And then you went where? I lost you. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I was trying to be a little more brief, but the ambulance basically came. They left because they didn't think it was that serious. But I ended up at the hospital later. My friends took me, and after a few tests, somebody walks over and says, Miss, we think you're having a stroke. And I was like, so much for food poisoning.
Yeah.
But what's a stroke? I had no idea. The word was not in my vocab. And within 24 hours, I was paralyzed from the nose down, which means I was also on mute. And so I was at the first hospital for 43 days. Then I was moved to a rehab hospital. And this whole time, I began moving finger less than a centimeter. That was my first movement, which only happened 2 weeks into being at the hospital. So everybody thought it was in a coma, vegetative coma. Meanwhile, I could hear everything, see everything, and I'm just freaked out because I'm trapped in my own body.
Wow. So, I mean, for many of us, like we've watched movies, we've experienced it, those of us who have loved ones who have had strokes, but you're sharing this verbally. You were mute, you're standing here on the other side of the computer with me. You have full range of motion. And so I know a lot has happened, but so the first movement was your finger. How long before, like, because I kind of think we need to know that story before you knew that you actually had some sort of ability to impact your healing? Because many stroke victims don't recover to where you are. So, like that, because we only have a certain amount of time, but we want to know all of it. So, figure that out. Tell us everything in this amount of time,
Okay, I'm gonna do my best.
but not too
So,
fast.
okay.
Yes.
All right, so while I was at the hospital, I was severely depressed. I mean, I was 25. What else? My friends are all partying, going out for drinks and meeting people, and I'm like dead.
Mhm.
So there were a few times when I had the thought, and I don't even know where it came from, that maybe I was chosen for something. But that was like a very passing thought, and the whole time I was just depressed, depressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finally, I ended up going home after 4 months in a wheelchair, in diapers, couldn't talk, could barely swallow. So I had to relearn everything from the ground up as an infant, as an infant.
Well,
Um,
you were fully there though here.
yeah, yeah,
So, and you had some memory of doing those things, but that must have been really frustrating to be inside of a body that didn't want to do what it was supposed to do.
oh yes, totally. I mean, it would be because I know that I used to be able to do it, and all of a sudden I can't. So in a wheelchair, and I
Yeah, yeah. Keep going. Sorry.
so going home. Thank God for my family because if it was not for them, I wouldn't be here. Because
Yeah.
I was ready to throw in the towel. I was like, this is it. My life is over. Why did I live? I didn't understand. I wished I had died. But they're the ones that kept pushing me and making me do stuff. I remember once I had a recumbent bike, and my mom thought I should ride it. So I'm like, okay. We go to the bike. I sit on the bike. It's got like a chair, so that was okay. I put my feet on the pedals. I go to pedal, and my feet slipped right off. I could not even keep my feet on the pedals.
Right.
So my mom, the genius, she tied my feet to the pedals. That's how much they were behind me.
Yeah. That's amazing. So you had family, and I mean, it must have been miraculous. I mean, it sounds miraculous, just that part, being able to, from being what appeared to be a coma for, you said 45 days before you were in a rehab hospital-ish, something like that. And then you were released home to kind of begin rehabbing yourself. Mom put you in a recumbent bike, tied your feet to the pedals so that something could happen, muscle atrophy would be reversed. So you had motion.
Yes.
Tell us, fast forward us a little bit with your
Okay.
glorious family. When did you realize that there was more for you, and that because this is the part that many people don't move past the I wish that I had died. My life is over because they can't see this beautiful woman sitting in front of us, right? What was your moment?
The moment for me was probably a couple of years into it, and I ended up at a gym when I could finally walk unaided. So I joined the yoga class because I figured it's going to be easy, it's going to be modifiable, and probably the only thing I could do here. So I go to the yoga class thinking this is going to be the only thing I can do. And it's turned out to be such a powerful mental exercise. It's what finally lifted the black cloud from over my head, and that's when I stopped living in the why me.
Mhm.
I wasn't thinking about helping others, don't get me
No,
wrong,
no,
but I wasn't why me, why me, why me, and I wasn't
no.
stuck in that
So
mode
what
anymore.
happened except for why me? And any of you that are watching with us, please let us know you're here. If you have any questions for Maria, now is the time to ask her. I have a million questions, but I think I'm going to stick with what did why me get replaced with?
Maybe something's gonna happen, and maybe there's a point to all this.
Yeah, maybe there's a point to all of this. That's a big thing. That's a big thought because many of us, maybe even your glorious family who was there for you this whole time, it doesn't feel like there's a reason. So you were at the gym, the black cloud cleared, and you're like, huh, okay, maybe I've got this. You're walking unaided, you were at a gym, you were doing something, and you got stronger. So fast forward to when you added nutrition to your healing process.
Okay, so after the gym, the whole thing with the yoga, that's when I realized if I'm gonna get to whatever level of recovery, going to the gym and doing physical therapy is not gonna get me where I want to go. I need to do something outside of physical therapy and outside of mainstream. So I started researching treatments, doing treatments, and I ended up doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I did stem cell injections. I did Feldenkrais method. I went to Germany for therapy. So I was basically throwing noodles at the wall because I figured, man, if I have to live another 50 years or whatever, I need to have quality of life. I can't stay like this.
No,
So I was basically just doing anything I thought would give me any percentage of betterment. I even played with my diet, macrobiotic, pescatarian, vegetarian. So I was doing everything. And I don't even know what exactly was helping most because I was doing so many things at once.
mm,
But then what happened was I got to about 10 years after the stroke. And looking back, I thought, you know what? I don't think I've recovered at all in the past 2 years. Maybe this is it. Maybe I'm at a plateau. Maybe I'm not going to recover anymore. So I was basically 70% recovered at the time, but I thought that was how it was going to be the rest of my life.
wow. So wait, at the 10-year mark, you checked in and you said, I don't think anything has happened. I haven't had any recovery for at least 2 years. And you'd been throwing the noodles at the wall and you had no idea what was working wasn't because you were doing all the things.
Yeah.
So you decided to get a little bit more strategic.
Not really. I decided to
No?
stop everything. I was like,
Okay,
that's it.
okay. That's a
I
strategy
realized,
too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, what's a strategy of surrender, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So finally, at 10 years, I said, no recovery. I'm tired. I'm tired of waking up every morning and just trying to get healthier. That was my whole life. I didn't do anything else. So at 10 years, I said, okay, I'm going to go back to school. I'm not doing any more therapy. I'm not doing anything.
Hmm.
Did that, went back to school, began to work with a friend to get out of the house, and I was plodding along. 15 years after the stroke, I hadn't recovered in like 7 or 8 years. I saw an ad for a nutrition course, and I was interested because I had already been playing with my diet. So I figured I'm going to learn something new about a topic I already like. So I enrolled, not thinking anything, and within 6 months of the start of the course, I'd recovered another 20%. And I
How did
got my
you
life
know?
back.
How
I
did you
got my life
know
back.
you got your life back? But how did you how, like you said, no recovery had happened in 7 years. Like you, 5 years, 10 years you gave up, 5 years you were like, "Bleh," right? Now 7 years goes by, you take this nutrition class, and 6 months in, you're actively participating in what you're learning, and you notice 20% better. How did you measure that? Like, how do you know? What changed? I think is really what I'm
Well,
asking.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the numbers are a bit arbitrary.
Yeah, no, but I mean that's important because it's a number for you, but I'm asking for anyone who's listening, like, how do you notice the changes in your body and
Okay.
that things are happening for you?
So to date, I have a running list of about 5 pages of all the things in me that changed. And in the very beginning, a lot of things were changing. For example, I began to hike, which I could have not done in a million years because I did not have the stamina, the strength, or the balance. So that was huge. Um, my voice actually became stronger. I stopped sounding like Marilyn Monroe. And I got a little bit of bass. It's
Mhm.
still not awesome, right? But it's actually it's mine.
Yeah.
And even things like that I never knew were wrong or not normal. For
Hmm.
example, I live in New Jersey and it gets cold in the winter. So whenever I walked outside, and this happened my whole life, when I would walk outside, my nose would go boom, Rudolph. It would
Uh-huh.
just turn pea red. And I
Hmm.
thought, that's just my body, right? And the first winter after I did the program, that stopped happening. That's up. And that's because now I know that it was my circulation. I
Right.
had really poor circulation.
Hmm. So it improved your circulation and your mobility and your balance and the bass in your voice.
Yes. And
Yeah.
even things like I stopped using a lotion in the winter. My skin would get all chapped, and all of a sudden my skin was always lovely.
Hmm. Amazing.
My cravings all went away. I would walk by coffee shops and stuff, zero cravings, which is amazing.
So all of this happened into your nutrition course. You knew
Yeah.
nutrition was your way.
Well, and not at this time, I didn't realize until I did that course. And when I saw what happened, I thought, oh my God, I was blown away. I thought it was sorcery. I thought it was literally sorcery.
Mm.
So I enrolled to become a coach, but not because I wanted to coach. I wanted to find out what the hell happened to me.
Okay.
I wanted to understand.
Yes. Yes.
So I enrolled in the coaching certification. And then I learned that during the certification, we had to have a pilot class. So I gathered a few people. And by the end of 3 months, they were having their own miracles. The people in my class, CPAP machines, no more. Type 2 diabetes, injections, gone. And this is for an 86-year-old woman who had been injecting 10 years, right?
Mm.
And I was like, weight was dropping off people, 40 pounds. A couple of people lost over 40 pounds in 3 months. And just operations averted and all these crazy things. And I thought, my gosh, I thought what I lived was miraculous, but this is equally miraculous.
Yeah.
So I was hooked. I was like, now I have to do this.
Now I have to do this. So that is an incredible story. Like, I mean, it's an incredible journey. And thank you for sharing because it had to have been, I mean, basically you're talking about almost 20 years of really, really a lot of darkness. And, somewhere at the 17-year mark, you started to see the light in this class. You still were investigating. Like, we've seen stories about that, we've seen all, stories about people jumping around and, trying this and trying that. And the movies usually end where they don't give up and they do, but you did give up. And then you did something else and it worked. And what do you think well, I want to talk about more. I want to what's the through line? What's the thing that got you here? But what I want to know is how do you serve people now and how do people find you to work with you because your story is genuine. It's relatable. It's amazing. And I know, there's a lot of noise out here around nutrition and what to eat and when to eat and what not to eat and what time to eat and what's right for your body and what's right for all bodies and, keto and vegetarian, pescatarian and, the trizepatides and all of these things that people are doing to improve their health and their bodies and their confidence and all of those things. And what I'm hearing from your story is that perhaps you have a different story and a different way of doing this. And I would just love to have people be able to reach out and talk to you about your process. How does that work?
So the best place to find me is on my website because I'm not as active on social media. And there you can book a discovery call.
Mhm.
I do those complimentary. The program is basically a 3-month program. First, we start with your food psychology. Very important because if I give you a list and say, go do this, you're going to look at it and go, okay. And then you'll do it for maybe 6 days. And
Mhm.
then, oh, something happened. I lost my job or I did this and you're going to stop. So we get into food psychology so that you can make changes from awareness and not willpower.
Mhm.
So willpower is not required. And the and I think that's very important because that's how you stick with things.
Oh,
Otherwise it becomes just another diet.
right. And it's not really a diet. You teach people how to live differently.
Right, it's a way of life. It's a way of
Yeah,
life.
I love that.
And that's actually what the word diet means, except humans, we hijacked the word.
Die,
Diet.
diets. Yes. Changing
So
your
when
life.
you
Yeah.
when you refer to an animal's diet, I don't think you mean the animal went on a diet to lose 20 pounds. No, it means way of life.
That's right. Very cool. Well, I think that this is our perfect stopping time here with the live stream. But I want to thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story and also how to get in touch with you. And I will put your website in the description of this. If you are just coming on and didn't catch, well, you didn't catch us live, let us know you watch us in the replay. Also, this will be loaded up to the WonderMama place, WonderMama Coffee Chat on YouTube. And you can also find us on podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Apple, where you listen to podcasts. You will find a recording of this tomorrow. So until then, I just want to say thank you. Oh, well, I'll share it later. I came across somebody who said, have you ever heard of gratitude water?
No.
Gratitude water. There was this, well, I saw somebody today who asked if you had had your gratitude water today. And what he did was he has this beautiful bottle that he filled up with water before he goes to bed. I thought this ritual was so gorgeous. You fill up the water, fill your favorite bottle up. So he had this gorgeous decanter type bottle. Fill it up with water. And before you go to bed, you speak into the water all of the prayers and all of the reasons you're grateful for today. And then you lit it and you go to sleep. And when you wake up in the morning, you drink the water and you drink your gratitude. And I was like, what a beautiful thing. Anyway, with that, I will leave you, all of you. Thank you so much for joining us here today, this Wednesday. Next Wednesday, we have an incredible guest. She is Jackie Shelton Green. She is our current North Carolina Poet Laureate and an incredible mom, wife, and grandmother, and one of the most incredible poets of our time. And I am so excited to have her with us here. So check back next Wednesday at noon. And for now, thank you so much. And I will see you then. Thank you so much for being with me, Maria.
Thank you.